When I was putting together the duty roster, I did not realize that I had put myself for morning message on the day of daylight savings time. And, the attendance kind of shows that. But hopefully, all of us here will be able to profit from the lesson. And one of the things actually came to me several weeks ago, and I have thought about this some since then, is as we look at the account of Lazarus that we find in the Gospel of John, I think there's several important lessons. Matter of fact, there are a bunch of lessons, but I'm only going to deal with a few this morning. So let's start by reading this account, which is in John chapter 11, and we'll read essentially the chapter. Now, a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, in the village of Mary and her sister Martha. And it was Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, he who you loved is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, this illness does not lead to death, for it is for the glory of God, so the Son of God may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. And after this he said to the apostles, let us go to Judea again. And the disciples said to him, Rabbi, the Jews were just now seeking to stone you, and are you going there again? And Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in a day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of the world. But if anyone walks in the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him. After saying these things, he said to them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I go to awaken him. And the disciples said to him, Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will recover. Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought he meant he was taking rest and sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And for your sake I am glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. So Thomas, called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, let us also go, that we may die with him. Now when Jesus came, he found Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother. So when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. And Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. And Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection of the last day. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. And whoever believes in me, though he die, yet he shall live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And she said to him, Lord, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. And when she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, the teacher is here and calling for you. And when she heard it, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but still in the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who were with her in the house consoling her saw Mary rise quickly and go out, they followed, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there. And when Mary came to where Jesus was, and they saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to the Lord, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, where have you laid him? And they said, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he have opened the eyes, who had opened the eyes of the blind man, who had kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone lay against it. And Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead 4 days." And Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you, if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away a stone, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. And I know that you always hear me, but I say this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me." And when he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The man who had died came out, his hands and feet bound with the linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what he did, believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, "What are we going to do? For this man performs many signs. And if we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all. Do you not understand that it is better for you that one man should die for the people, and not the whole nation should perish?" He did not say this of his own accord, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but also gather into one the children of God who were scattered abroad. So from that day on, they made plans to put Jesus to death. And Jesus therefore no longer walked openly among the Jews, but went from there to the region near the wilderness, to a town called Ephraim, and there he stayed with the disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. And they were looking for Jesus, saying to one another as they stood in the temple, "What do you think? That he will not come to the feast at all?" Now the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that if anyone knew where he was, he should let them know, so that they might arrest him. Like I said, this is a lengthy reading and a lesson that has many, many meanings or applications to it. But I just want to focus on a few. And first of all, one of the things that may have jumped out at you is God sometimes hides his plans. Notice that Mary and Martha had sent, a message to Jesus, "Please come, Lazarus is sick." So the sister sent to him saying, "Lord, he who you love is ill." But when Jesus heard it, he said, "The illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it." So, Jesus is telling his disciples, okay, well, it's not critical that I be there. And what are they going to presume? All right, well, Lazarus will get over it by himself, right? Did Lazarus ultimately remain dead? No. But that would not have been obvious to his disciples. Romans chapter 11. "Oh, the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable are his judgments. How inscrutable are his ways. For he who knows the mind of the Lord, or who has been his counselor, or who has given a gift to him that might be repaid. For from him and through him and to him are all things. To him be glory forever. Amen." God does not disclose his plans all the time. We can't look at the scriptures and see how he's going to change everything that is happening in our life. We can't. And, we have to be aware of the fact that, no, we're not going to know. And we can't build our faith on just the desire to, yes, I know God is going to do this or that, or not that understanding. In Isaiah chapter 55, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. I use the illustration of, using, telescopes to observe the universe. It goes on and on. It's extremely far beyond the numbers that I think we can comprehend. We worship a God who created all of it. And as we learn things, we realize just how complicated that universe is. Yet he created all of it. So, is it at all surprising that his thoughts, his ways, are in fact superior to what we think? And that we should not understand everything that he does in the moment. And secondly, God acts according to his schedule. This is kind of interrelated with the first. And verses 6 and 7. So when he had heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to the disciples, let us go to Judea again. Lazarus was ill. He got this message, but did he go immediately? Back into Judea? No. He stayed where he was and did the teaching that he was doing there. Again, God doesn't necessarily work to our desired schedule. The whole universe is dependent upon that. In 2 Peter chapter 3, knowing this, first of all, that scoffers will come in the last days, scoffing, following their own sinful desires. And they will say, where's the promise of his coming? For ever since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. And they deliberately overlook this fact that the heavens existed long ago, and the earth was formed out of water and through water, and by the word of God. And that means that those, and of these, the world that was existed was deluged with water and perished. By the same word, heavens and earth that now exist are stored up for fire, being kept unto the day of judgment and the destruction of godly men. Do not overlook this one fact, beloved, that with the Lord 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years 1 day. The Lord is not slow to fulfill his promise, as some count slowness, but is patient towards you, not wishing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the heavenly bodies will burn up and be dissolved, and the earth and its works that are done on it will be exposed. For all of these things thus dissolve, what sort of people ought you to be in holiness and godliness? So even in the matters, the great matters, if you will, of the world and the universe and its fate, God works to his own schedule. He has promised that those things are going to be destroyed. And he also, Peter is writing that, God hasn't fulfilled his word yet. Therefore, he's not reliable. Well, God will fulfill according to his plans. And if we look at the events in Lazarus and his death and his resurrection, we see how those plans are fulfilled and how they work together. Third point, and I think this is significant for us. God's actions or inactions can cause us pain. Again, going back to John chapter 11, when Jesus had reached Bethany and Martha had come out to see him, Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you." So, Jesus, if you'd been here, none of this would happen. Okay, well, Lazarus had died. That was a pretty significant outcome of that. But, if you look down, all of them are affected here. There were many who were mourning Lazarus. The village was. And, down in the paragraph below, now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but still in the place where Martha had met him. And when the Jews who were with her in the house consoled her, that was Mary, saw Mary rise up quickly and go out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there. And when Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." You think that Mary was just completely, accepting, oh, this is okay. She had been weeping. She had been crying. Other examples. Psalms 38. "O Lord, rebuke me not in your anger, nor discipline me in your wrath. For your arrows have sunk into me, and your hand has come down on me. There is no soundness in my flesh because of your indignation. There is no health in my bones because of my sin. For my iniquities have gone over my head like a heavy burden. They are too heavy for me. My wounds sink and fester because of my foolishness. I am utterly bowed down and prostrate. All the days I go about mourning, for my sides are filled with burning, and there is no soundness in my flesh." Well, you might say, well, the psalmist here has, been guilty of sin, and part of what he's writing about is the consequence of that sin. But haven't we all sinned? And really, shouldn't we all be feeling the same way about our sin? But, in Psalm 66, just, a few Psalms down. "Bless our God, O peoples. Let the sound of his praise be heard. He who has kept our soul among the living and has not let our feet slip. For you, O God, have tested us. You have tried us as silver is tried. You have brought us into the net. You have laid a crushing burden on our backs. You let men ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, yet you have brought us out to a place of abundance." Sounds like it wasn't easy to get to that place of abundance, right? And for these people who mourned Lazarus, okay, well, could Jesus have prevented him from dying? I think quite certainly he could have. But that did not fit into what needed to be done. So these people ended up mourning. So God, in his wisdom, sometimes initiate things that we don't like, that we find unpleasant. But at the same time, it is important to realize that God doesn't ignore our pain. He's not oblivious to it. Here, again in John 11, when Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who had come out with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" And they said to him, "Lord, come see." And Jesus wept. So the Jews said, see how he loved him. So sometimes we get the image of, this omnipotent God who's, so distant from us and controlling all of the things and, having no passion, no concern. Oh, well, I just have to make sure all of my desires and plans come to fruition. And Jesus did act to make sure the plans came to fruition. But that didn't mean he was insensitive to the pain and suffering that people had to endure because of it. Again, going back to Psalms. In God, whose word I praise, in God I trust, I shall not be afraid. What can flesh do to me? All day long they injure my cause. All their thoughts are against me for evil. They stir up strife. They lurk. They watch my steps as they have waited for my life. For their crime will not escape. For their crime will they escape? For wrath cast down the peoples, O God. You have kept count of my tossings. Put my tears in your bottle. All are they not in your book? Then my enemies will turn back in the day when I call. This I know, that God is for me. In God, whose word I praise, in the Lord, whose word I praise, in God I trust, I shall not be afraid. What can man do for me? And what passage can convey the fact that God, in particular Jesus, cannot understand our suffering? But this passage in Isaiah chapter 53, which prophesies concerning all the things that he would suffer. Who has believed what he has heard from us? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant, like a root out of dry ground. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised, rejected by men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, and as one from whom men hide their faces. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we esteemed him not. We esteemed him stricken and smitten by God and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgression, and he was crushed for our iniquities. And upon him the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed. Do I need to go on? Think about all the things that Jesus suffered. About all the things that it was planned for him to suffer. I mean, truly he was rejected. How many people have had to suffer rejection worse than Christ did? Our Messiah went through that. And he understands our griefs and our sufferings. And a final point. And again, there's so many that we can make out of this section, but I think you'll end with this one. We can trust God to do what needs to be done in the end. Again from John chapter 11. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. And Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. And Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. And Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet he shall live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And she said, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world. As we read on down, where he asked them to remove the stone, And so they took away the stone, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I say this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me. And when he said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. And the man who had died came out, his hands and feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. And Jesus said to him, unbind him and let him go. So, this is a story with a happy ending, right? Yeah, it is. Now, it wasn't always pleasant getting through it. But the fundamental message here is Jesus needed to demonstrate his power. And many believed him because of what happened with Lazarus. But that didn't mean that what happened with Lazarus was insignificant. In Psalms chapter 20. Now I know the Lord saves his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with the saying that, with the saving might of his right hand. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They collapse and fall, but we rise and stand upright. O Lord, save the king. He may answer us when we call. Psalms 28. Blessed be the Lord, for he has heard the voice of the pleas for mercy. The Lord is my strength and my shield. In him my heart trusts, and I am helped. My heart exults, and with song I give thanks to him. The Lord is the strength of his people. He is the saving refuge of his anointed. O save your people and bless your heritage. Be their shepherd and carry them forever. Proverbs chapter 3. So you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, or be weary of his reproof. For the Lord reproves whom he loves, as a father the son whom he delights. So as we reach the end here, identify just 4 points from this section in John chapter 11. But I think they're major points we need to remember. Number 1, God does not always reveal his plans. Sometimes he actively hides them so that we can't see what is supposed to happen. Secondly, even when we see the problem, we don't always know how God's going to solve the problem. And we don't know when he's going to solve the problem. And sometimes the events that we find in this life are going to cause us a lot of pain. Now, we've had certainly many who have suffered death of relatives or parents in the past few months. That's certainly one level of that pain. But this occurs in many different ways. And that's going to happen. And in fact, we find, in the Psalms, matter of fact, in James as well, the idea that we have to suffer these trials so that we will be stronger, so that we can please him. And finally, even though we have to suffer pain, even though we don't always know how God's going to accomplish his plans or when he's going to accomplish his plans, and even though sometimes we know that God is actively hiding how he's going to do this, we must have faith that this will solve the problem, that God's plans will be fulfilled. And if we're faithful to him, then we will be rewarded as those plans are accomplished. Simple lessons, simple thoughts, but sometimes kind of hard to deal with. But think about this, if you will, and I certainly appreciate your attention as we have gone through this.